Testifying before Congress today, Anthony Fauci fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is never hold up a white piece of paper on TV or the internet. And Anthony Fauci has done this, and he will forever go in the history books memeified. Testifying today in front of Rand Paul, Dr. Fauci angrily held up a printout from Rand Paul's website that reads, "Fire Dr. Fauci." Bravo, good sir. Bravo. I had to highlight this one moment. It's not particularly relevant to the greater news context, but I think it matters. No, to be fair, it is relevant. Fire Dr. Fauci. And Dr. Fauci is pointing to a fundraising website for Rand Paul. It says to me something very simple. Tribalism. That's all this is. And now for the actual main segment. You may have seen this story the other day, and it is despicable, disgusting, but ultimately, does it matter to either you or I? Here's the story from the LA Times. Mocking anti-vaxxers' deaths is ghoulish, yes, but necessary. It's incredible. Mocking people's deaths. I won't do that. I won't. And there are people on the left and people on the right who like to mock people's deaths. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, I said, it's sad. Donald Trump said, wow, it was sad. She was a tremendous woman, huge, all that really great stuff about her. Because whether you like her or not, you recognize, death is a sad thing. And we're not here to gloat at, at people's deaths or dying. But there are a lot of people on the right that love to just mock her demise. And then, of course, you have people on the left who mock Herman Cain, who died of COVID. These people sicken me. It's despicable. It's disgusting. I won't mock someone dying. Now, the LA Times has slightly revised their article. It now reads, mocking anti-vaxxers' COVID deaths is ghoulish, yes, but may be necessary. Oh, thank you for the correction, LA Times. They then show this image of Orange County GOP figure Kelly Earnby, died last week of COVID after disparaging anti-pandemic measures. Disgusting people. Vaccine mandates aren't working, period. They are not working. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me break that down for the cult members. Vaccine mandates work in the sense that you terrorize people into getting your medical procedure, but the cases in New York City are through the roof. Let me just show you. One of the first places to institute a vaccine mandate is breaking records. 90,000 new cases. Now, of course, I think it's important to point out that even CNN reported that hospitalizations are inflated by upwards of 40%. Because what's happening is people will bump their head, go to the hospital, and the hospital will be like, you got COVID. And the person's not in the hospital for COVID. They just happen to have it. It's also true, as reported in 2020, April of 2020, almost 2 years ago. Isn't that crazy? USA Today did a fact check saying that hospitals that report COVID cases get paid more money. How about that? So here we have the story that I think is important to read from the LA Times gloating about people dying. Because I want you to know what the mainstream press thinks. This story, mocking anti-vaxxers' deaths, and it's not even anti-vaxxers, it's just anti-mandate people as well. It made it past. Well, first, this Michael Hiltzik wrote it. It got sent to an editor who approved it. It got approved by probably a copy editor and other staff, and they said, run with it. It made it through every layer of the LA Times. And when it was called into question, the only thing they did was they added the words may be. Because at first they said it was necessary. Now they're saying it may be necessary, showing that their concern over the article and the criticism has nothing to do with mocking people dying. It has more to do with whether or not they're offering up a solution to the pandemic or being a little too definitive in what that solution is. Yeah, that's all they're really concerned about. But let me debunk this and then break down the issue here. And I'll say it right away because I don't want to waste time or mince words. Vaccines mandates don't work. At this point, there is no convincing someone who is not vaccinated to get vaccinated. Mocking someone who dies will not change anyone's mind. And in fact, the more what I see online is the more they mock the deaths of people, the more the other side bunkers down. Now, of course, there is an interesting conspiracy theory I love. Someone like I think it was posted on 4chan They said that the left is tricking the right into not getting the vaccine by making them think it's a tribal issue and it's a vaccine. I think that one's pretty funny. The reality is, if they really wanted to get people to be vaccinated, they could certainly say vaccine mandates force people to do it. But they're talking about just making fun of you for dying. The Herman Cain Award. The LA Times writes, among all the ways that COVID-19 affects our lives, the pandemic confronts us with a profound moral dilemma. How should we react to the deaths of the unvaccinated? On one hand, a hallmark of a civilized thought is the sense that every life is precious. On the other, wait. There's an other hand? Like, life is not precious? Amazing. Those who have deliberately flouted sober medical advice by refusing the vaccine, known to reduce the risk of serious disease from the virus, including the risk to others, and end up in the hospital or the grave can be viewed as receiving their just desserts. Wait, they're just deserts. Okay, good job. The vaccine is not the cure to COVID and mandates don't work, says Kelly Earnby before her unvaccinated death from COVID. Let me pause real quick. That's a fact statement. The vaccine is not the cure to COVID. That's true. The vaccine is not a cure for COVID. That's a fact. Mandates won't work. Correct. In New York, even with mandates, cases are flying through the roof. Okay. Now it depends on what your goal with the mandate is. You see, the left has slipped their mask off. The goal of the mandate is not to preserve health. It's to force you to undergo a medical procedure they demand. That's it. Because if the goal of the mandate, as we assumed, was to help save lives, then we wouldn't be seeing record-breaking cases and them going, it's working. It's working. More people are getting COVID than ever. Oh, the vaccine mandate is more about forcing people to comply than it is safety of individuals. But gee, I think we knew that. The writer goes on to say, that's even more true of those who not only refuse the vaccine for themselves, but publicly advocated that others do so. It has become common online and in social media for vaccine refusers and anti-vaccine advocates to become the target of ridicule after they come down with COVID-19, especially if they die from it. But I want to pause right there. I don't know why I or anyone should be concerned about the musings of a cult member. Like, you're in a cult. You are. You're literally in a cult. Why would I care what you crackpots think? I'll tell you what I do. I go outside, I got chickens, got video games, got skateboards. I go to regular businesses, talk with regular people, and engage in regular day-to-day business while you all get your numbers wrong. Bill Maher called out the left because in a poll, they asked Democrats what was the percentage likelihood of being hospitalized if you got COVID, and they thought like around 40 or so percent thought it was upwards of 50% likelihood. Republicans and independents got it correct, 5%. I mean, that's 1 in 20. I think I was on the verge of hospitalization. Yeah, not a good illness, man. Very, very bad. But these people have no idea what they're talking about while they're gloating and making fun of you. But I'll tell you this. If I saw a dude pick up a turd sandwich and then laugh at me because I was eating asparagus, and he's like, look, you're so dumb. This asparagus is so gross, going to make you stink. And then I'm like, you're literally eating a turd sandwich. I don't care what the guy covered in human waste is saying about me, to be completely honest. Like, there are people who are not smart enough, and they're laughing. Well, what am I supposed to say about that? I see a lot of dumb people who are laughing. Doesn't really mean anything to me. I got to be completely honest. There are a lot of smarter people than me who laugh at me as well, but I also just don't care. I really don't. You know, that I think that's the key to life, man. Maybe that's a thing about you or I, is that for the most part, we don't care what other people think. We're more individualist. He goes on to write, witness the subreddit Herman Cain Award, which Lily Loofbro of Slate identified in September as a site for heartless and unrepentant schadenfreude. Great. The site is named for the former Republican candidate for president who became one of the first political notables to succumb to the disease after publicly defying social distancing measures. Like another site, Sorry Anti-Vaxxer, the subreddit hosts snippets and photographs of anti-vaccine advocates, often taken at their deathbeds. The issue of how to think about the deaths of unvaccinated has been thrown into high relief locally by the case of Kelly Earnby, blah, blah, blah. He goes on to say, my colleague Nicholas Goldberg recently lamented eloquently the rift in the social fabric that this species of callous commentary represents. Mocking anti-vaxxers when they get sick has become a bit of a sport, he wrote. I have a slightly different take. To begin with, let's stipulate that not all people unvaccinated against COVID are alike. Some have remained unvaccinated for legitimate medical reasons. They may be children for whom COVID haven't been fully ruled safe, or people with genuine medical reasons. Some have legitimately faced obstacles in getting a vaccination site. Others may have refused the vaccine because they've been deceived by the misinformation and disinformation spread by the anti-vaccine crowd, such as anchors on Fox News. In fact, PhD holders are the of all the education groups, PhD holders are the least likely to be vaccinated. Those dang liberal arts and PhD individuals who are falling victim to Fox News. I don't know what it means, to be completely honest, but isn't that funny? Finally, there are those who have voiced public opposition to the vaccines, not all of whom are unvaccinated themselves. Some have couched their opposition in policy terms. Yes, my issue is forcing a private medical treatment on people by barring them from public accommodation. That's insane. I think it's wrong. I also think if you got the vaccine, good for you. I don't care. Go talk to your doctor. That's none of my business. Look, man, I don't want to know about the butt pills you take or the brain pills you take. I don't care. If you're crazy, I'll call you crazy. If you're dumb, I'll call you dumb. If you're smart, I'll call you smart. If I like your opinion, I'll say I do. If I don't, I say I don't. And whether or not you're being treated for something ain't none of my business for the most part. I mean, obviously, if someone's got like a severe mental issue and they wanted to buy guns, well, then we got some issues. I mean, the Second Amendment does say shall not be infringed. It doesn't say unless you're mentally ill. But there could be due process involved in suspending someone's Second Amendment rights. So we'll leave the gun argument off to the side. The point is, you're allowed to be you. And some people have heart diseases and they take heart pills. And some people have, certain medical issues. That's none of my business. It's a private medical concern for you and your doctor. And I think that's the way it should be. I also have never been a big fan of massive multinational corporations and the governments subsidizing them with no liability contracts. You get the point. I have never been in favor of massive unaccountable corporations or big pharma. Now, I can be reasonable and say something like, yeah, I know big pharma makes medications that do help us, but I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. To be completely honest, there is a profit motive in keeping people sick. Now, I'm not saying they're making people sick or anything like that, but certainly it is better for a business to make sure you are staying sick, but they're treating your symptoms, as opposed to actually curing a disease. It's like the light bulb. The first light bulb or whatever, it's still in the firehouse in New York. It's been on forever. Yeah, because they could make better light bulbs, but planned obsolescence, right? These are criticisms I have of capitalism. And people say, oh, but that's not real capitalism, whatever. Look, I like free trade. I like private individuals having the right to trade, but I also recognize some people are just dicks. And the system is perfect. It's not perfect. I am not a laissez-faire capitalist. I don't think that system would work. However, I also think that just means some regulation. That's about it. Due process. Don't scam people. Don't rip them off. Don't hurt people. Things like that. That's why I've always been kind of a traditional liberal or social liberal, libertarian leaning. But today, none of that seems to make sense. Let me show you something. I want to show you where it gets important. I don't know what his point is, to be completely honest. Saying that you should mock people so that they decide to get the vaccine. Take a look at this. They include this image. Vaccination rates, all 3,144 U.S. counties, 50 states, and D.C. You can see the blue areas are percent of total population fully vaccinated. And then you have 2020 Trump vote percentage. So around 45% to 55%, they consider it purple. Greater than 55% Trump vote is red. And you can see the redder it gets, the less likely people are to be vaccinated. Interesting. You want to know what else is interesting? Well, they say vaccination rates closely correspond to the level of Trump votes in 2020. Lower vaccination rates are seen where Trump succeeded. And Trump succeeded also in rural areas where people have very little contact with other people relative to urban areas. But perhaps the person who wrote this article is too stupid to realize that and instead wants to mock you for dying. What a good person. You see, Trump won overwhelmingly in rural counties. It's why the Trump supporters often show the map and they say there are no blue states, only blue cities in a red country or whatever. But the population density is substantially lower outside of cities. So why is it that Trump areas have lower vaccination rates? Dude, if I don't live near anyone, I work remotely and I don't interact with hundreds of people every few minutes, then maybe it's not a concern to me that I would get sick. Or maybe these people call their doctors and they're like, look, you're not going to be around anybody. You're not going to be going to big stores. You're less likely to be in contact with people. Maybe people just less concerned about it. I think that's very simple. And to the credit of the people in the big cities, I understand why they're more worried about it. Aside from the fact that they got it wrong in that poll I mentioned, Bill Maher criticized. If you live in Manhattan and you're like, when I go outside, I'm walking shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people. Okay, I get it. You're concerned. But to say it's correlating directly with who voted for whom, no. The issue, in my opinion, is population density. They go on to say it's the smaller government people and they're anti-vax, blah, blah, blah. He goes on to say, what's especially inquisitive about the anti-mandate and anti-vaccination arguments is the damage they are doing to America's public health system. Republicans like Ernby used COVID vaccines to turn public health into part of their partisan culture war. Yeah, no, that was you. When Donald Trump initiated Operation Warp Speed, and then all of these Democrat personalities started saying they would never take the vaccine because it was rushed, and then Joe Biden gets in, and then all of a sudden it inverts. And don't get me wrong. I certainly think there's areas to criticize the right. I love how in the beginning of the pandemic, it was conservatives and right-wingers who were like, get your masks, wear your masks. And it was Fauci and the left saying, you don't need to be wearing any masks. It was actually Fauci who said it on TV. And the left was mocking people for wearing masks. It's crazy, isn't it? Then, at some point, for some reason, it flipped. And the right all of a sudden was like, we don't want to wear masks. And the left was like, you better. Maybe it had something to do with mask mandates. I don't know. As soon as Fauci came out and said, wear them, all of a sudden people were like, no. It's the stupidest thing ever. Masks work. They really do. And so that's my criticism to the right. Now, of course, people will highlight on the box, it says, this mask will not prevent, COVID. Yes, masks will not prevent aerosolized virus. That's true. It can help stop you, if you're sick, from spitting on someone and getting them sick too. That's an honest point. It's reality. That's why when people get sick, they wear masks. That's why doctors wear masks. It's not just because they want to stop blood or something from splattering on their face, because they don't want to spit when they talk. It's just a basic layer of protection. Now, some people seem to think that masks working mean a guarantee at stopping a virus, while as the science just says, it reduces transmission. I don't understand why the right flipped on that one, to be completely honest. Now, it may be due to mandating people wear masks. That I get. If a private establishment says, we want you to wear a mask, my response is, okay, well, then I'm not going to come in. I'll go somewhere else. If a government forces business to do it, well, now I got a problem. For me, if I go to a place like a restaurant, and I told the story, and no one's wearing any masks, then don't expect me to think it's reasonable to wear one. If I go to a record store and everybody's wearing masks, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. The store wants you to do it. They also don't want you to wear shirts and shoes. That I understand too. It's their store. They don't need to let me in. But I do think it's just so stupid how people play tribal games on this one. That being said, as most of you know, I think whatever the right is in this country is more likely to be correct on these issues, as noted by the Bill Maher segment, that independent voters and right-leaning voters got the number of the percentage likelihood of hospitalization correct and Democrats didn't. And it's because of articles like this. This is what the Democrats fear. They fear being mocked. They're scared they'll be made fun of if they don't get the vaccine and get sick. I don't care about any of that. I don't care if you want to call me all the stupid names in the book. It doesn't affect me. I'm doing my thing. I'm running a business. I've got plans. I am not easily swayed by drama and nonsense and being insulted. And it's the most annoying thing in the world. The most annoying thing in the world to me is when people I know send me things like, did you see what they're saying about you? I'm like, I don't care. You're wasting my time with this. Send me a news story about what's going on in the world. Send me something pertaining to COVID policy. Send me something that's going to help make the world a better place. I don't care that people are insulting me. People insult me all the time. People insult you all the time. They insult everybody all the time. It's childish and it's stupid and it's pointless. It's a waste of our time. We should be talking about what major mainstream news publications are saying and why. And I will tell you this. The reason why I really wanted to talk about this. Mocking someone's death will not convince anyone to get vaccinated. In fact, it should be doing quite the opposite, or probably convincing them to hate you. Imagine someone's grandfather dies, and they're sad, and they're crying. And the LA Times laughs. Ha 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 ha, it's so funny that your loved one died. And you think I'm going to be okay with that? Look, I just made fun of the right for being anti-maskers, right? You think I'm going to be happy when you make fun of my friends and family who died? I don't care why they died. You talk smack on those who have lost their lives, and that's how you start trouble. I don't care why. I don't care if a family or friend was driving drunk. I really don't. If they did something wrong and they lost their lives, you smack talk the people I care about. You are not convincing me of anything. You are making me your enemy. You come to a funeral and you say, I'm sorry for your loss, man. I really, really am. I wish more people were taking this seriously. I got to be honest. I wish your loved one would have gotten the vaccine or worn the mask, but I don't think that's relevant right now. I'm sorry that you're going through this. Hey, that might actually be convincing to someone. That might actually have them be like, I know, I get it. Think about your friends and family members who are on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you and you argue with. Imagine if they came to you after, let's say you had a someone you knew from high school and they laughed at you and started just making fun of you. Ha ha ha, it's so funny that your parents died in that nursing home because Cuomo. Why would you like that? Why would you listen to them? Why would you be friends with them? Why would you think they have anything but malintent towards you? Why would I assume their advice is sound if they're just mocking and laughing at my suffering? I say the same thing when the right insults and mocks the left. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play that game. There are so many stories that are coming out where it's like so-and-so got vaccinated and then a month later died or whatever. And there are people on the right saying that, oh, this proves it. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I'm not going to make fun of any of these people. They died. It sucks. You're not going to convince anybody by mocking and belittling them. But you can go up to someone and you can say, sorry to hear it, man. I'm here for you if you need anything from me. Politics should not be a factor in you dealing with your loss. That's it. That's all. Daryl Davis de-radicalized a lot of Klan members by just being friends with them. And that's what needs to happen. When someone dies, you simply need to say, I'm sorry this happened. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. That's it. That's it. However, mainstream media, corporate press, what do you want to call it? This story made it through how many editors? This story was approved by how many people? It's disgusting, man. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.